The cameras flashed, the leading men took the applause, the crowd froze, completely captivated. But in the shadows, just off-center from the spotlight, a master of villainy was quietly stealing the entire scene.
Right.
And just like that, cinema has lost one of its most reliable, irreplaceable faces.
It really is the end of an era.
It is. The headlines circulating recently read, "Beloved Harry Potter star Michael Byrne dies at 82.
Yeah.
So welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
Exactly. And from red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
Now, you might not immediately know the name Michael Byrne, but if you have watched a Scream in the last 50 years, his face is absolutely burned into your memory.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right. He is one of only 2 actors in the entire history of film, alongside Julian Glover, to hold a footprint in the James Bond, Harry Potter, and Indiana Jones franchises.
Which is just an insane piece of trivia.
It really is. So today, we are taking a stack of sources for this deep dive. We've got everything from The Guardian and MovieWeb to Screen Rant, and even some really passionate fan analysis over on Reddit.
Yeah, the fans really came out for this one.
They did. And our mission today is to uncover the Hollywood drama, the franchise shakeups, and really just the sheer mechanics of what it takes to be the quiet, foundational star who makes blockbuster movies actually work.
I love this because, holding a place in those 3 specific cinematic universes, it's not an accident.
No, definitely not.
When a director is building a movie with a $100 million budget, you've got explosions going off, and a massive A-list star at the center, they cannot afford a supporting cast that needs hand-holding.
Right, they don't have time for that.
Exactly. They need an actor who is adaptable, commanding, and, totally comfortable stepping into a machine that's just much bigger than they are. They need someone to ground the fiction the second they step into the frame.
And that grounding effect is what I really want to dig into first because, well, it doesn't just happen overnight.
Yeah.
You don't just walk onto a Hollywood backlot and magically know how to stare down Harrison Ford, right?
Seriously.
We need to look at the mechanism of how an actor like Michael Byrne is built. According to the sources, he was born in 1943 in London to an Irish single mother, and he had 0 industry connections.
None at all.
But by the 1960s, he was just forged in the absolute fires of Laurence Olivier's National Theatre Company at the Old Vic. And looking at his career, he reminds me of a bass player in a legendary rock band.
Oh, I like that comparison.
Right, because a character actor is like a bass player in that they set the entire tempo. If the villain doesn't bring genuine grounded menace, the hero's actions just feel completely unearned.
Yeah, there's no payoff.
Exactly. The leading man is out there playing the melody, but the character actor is dictating the emotional rhythm of the scene. But I have to ask you, how does that stage training actually translate? Why is a classically trained Shakespearean actor automatically Hollywood's go-to bad guy?
Well, what's fascinating here is that it comes down to the old British repertory system, which was essentially like an elite boot camp for human behavior.
Oh, wow, a boot camp.
Yeah, because in the repertory system of the 1960s, you didn't just get cast in a play and run it for a year. You might play a king on Tuesday,
Right.
a peasant on Wednesday, and then a comedic fool on Thursday.
That is exhausting just thinking about it.
Totally. You are forced to build a massive physical toolkit of voices, postures, and psychological profiles because you literally have to switch characters overnight.
And the Guardian obituary points this out so beautifully.
Yes, it really did.
They noted how this sense of evolutionary progression, moving up through a great company like the National Theatre, has largely disappeared today.
It has. Under Olivier, you understudied. You watched legends like Maggie Smith work. You learned how to hold the stage when you had absolutely no dialogue.
So it's about physical stamina and presence just as much as, line delivery.
Precisely. By the time Byrne was stepping in front of a camera for a major film, he had already spent thousands of hours on stage just mastering his physical presence.
Right.
The Statesman article noted he was a serious stage actor long before he was a film actor. That kind of background means when a film director needs someone to walk into a scene, deliver exposition flawlessly, and hold their own against a massive star, they call a theater veteran.
Because they know that actor can synthesize the environment instantly.
Exactly.
He built a foundation on the stage, but it was one specific blockbuster where he went toe-to-toe with Harrison Ford that cemented his legacy forever.
Oh, absolutely.
And that brings us to 1989, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
A classic.
Michael Byrne steps into the role of the sadistic SS officer Ernst Vogel. And look, if you haven't watched this film recently, go back and look at his performance. So good. He has these startling, icy blue eyes and this incredibly crisp, resonant voice that somehow just cuts through all the chaos of a Steven Spielberg action sequence.
It really does pierce right through.
But here's the challenge I want to throw at you. Fans over on the Rindy and Ahones Reddit thread noted that Vogel is, technically speaking, a comedic character in the grand scheme of the movie.
Right.
But Vogel is a literal Nazi. So how do you inject comedy into an SS officer without offending the audience or, totally ruining the stakes for Indiana Jones?
Oh, that is the ultimate tightrope walk of the adventure genre, and it is exactly why Spielberg cast a stage veteran.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
If you play a villain in an adventure film too seriously, like with too much grim realism, it completely suffocates the fun, swashbuckling tone of the movie.
Right, it's too dark.
Exactly.
Right.
But if you play them too cartoonishly, there are no stakes. The audience doesn't believe the hero is in any real danger, and the thrill just evaporates.
So where did Byrne land?
Byrne found the exact frequency Spielberg was broadcasting on.
Yeah.
He made Vogel a truly hissable villain, as MovieWeb described it, but he anchored it with a terrifyingly calm competence.
Yeah.
Like, when he punches Harrison Ford, you really feel the weight of it. He never plays Vogel as a buffoon. He plays him as a man who takes his horrific job very seriously.
Which is what makes it work.
Right. And that allows the absurdity of the situations around him to provide the comedy, rather than the character himself acting like a clown.
That makes perfect sense. One Reddit user even highlighted how perfectly he delivers that iconic line, "This is how we say goodbye in Germany, Dr. Jones."
Yes.
It's just dripping with this malevolent glee. But okay, let's unpack this. Building a reputation on that exact kind of menace seems a bit dangerous for an actor.
It can be, yeah.
Because he ended up playing a lot of Nazis. He was in The Eagle Has Landed, Force 10 from Navarone, again, alongside Harrison Ford and later apt pupil.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it a massive trap? To be remembered so vividly for playing abhorrent historical figures, doesn't that risk overshadowing his actual range?
It is a trap, and many character actors find their careers entirely boxed in by it. The industry sees you do one thing perfectly, and they just ask you to do it forever.
Exactly.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, Byrne actively subverted that expectation by using his own casting history as a weapon.
Wait, how do you mean?
Well, you mentioned Apt Pupil, the 1998 film directed by Bryan Singer.
Yeah.
Because of his history playing these icy villains, the audience sits down expecting him to be one of the Nazi antagonists.
Oh, right. You just assume it based on his face.
Exactly. But instead, he flips the script entirely. He plays Ben Kramer, a Jewish concentration camp survivor who was actually instrumental in catching Ian McKellen's Nazi war criminal character.
Oh, wow. That is a brilliant piece of meta-casting.
Isn't it?
You take the guy the audience subconsciously associates with the SS and you make him the survivor seeking justice. The psychological weight that brings to the screen before he even says a single word is just immense.
Exactly. It leverages the audience's assumptions right against them. And it shows how he elevated throwaway parts into deeply human or, deeply terrifying performances.
Yeah.
He was just as convincing playing a communist resistance leader in the TV show Secret Army as he was playing Royal Navy Admiral Kelly in the James Bond film Tomorrow Never Dies.
The range is wild.
It really is. The through line isn't the uniform he wears, it's the absolute, unshakable authority he brings to the screen.
He mastered the blockbusters of the 80s and 90s, becoming an irreplaceable asset to directors. But later in the deep dive, we're going to talk about a franchise twist and a polite erasure nobody saw coming.
Oh, this part is fascinating.
It really is. And hey, if you're loving these Hollywood twists and deep looks at the stars behind the stars, make sure you're subscribed because we've got even crazier stories ahead.
Definitely hit that subscribe button.
So let's move into the modern blockbuster era, specifically the 2010s. Because the landscape shifted and we get into the ruthless mechanics of franchise politics.
Yeah, it gets messy.
It does. Michael Byrne is actually one of 5 actors to play the dark wizard Gellert Grindelwald in the Harry Potter universe. But his unique interpretation was just quietly left behind by Hollywood.
The Grindelwald situation is a perfect case study in how massive intellectual properties treat character actors versus how they treat, A-list movie stars.
Absolutely. So let's set the scene. In 2010, Michael Byrne appears in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Part 1.
Right.
He plays the elderly Grindelwald locked away in Nurmengard prison. He's basically lying on a stone floor, completely stripped of his power, and his performance radically contrasts with the original book by J.K. Rowling.
It really does.
Because in the novel, when Voldemort comes looking for the Elder Wand, Grindelwald actually shows remorse. He lies to Voldemort to protect Dumbledore's secret, almost as a final act of redemption.
Yes.
But the film version, Byrne's version, he is having a blast. He delightedly laughs right in Voldemort's face and gladly gives up the location of the wand.
It's so unhinged.
It's completely unhinged. It's dark, and it completely rewrites the emotional climax of that character. Why do you think they made that choice?
Well, it is the most distinct interpretation of the character we've ever seen on screen. As Screen Rant pointed out, other actors in the later prequels portrayed Grindelwald as a charismatic, manipulative politician who carefully hides his cruelty behind a charming facade.
Right, very suave.
Exactly. But Byrne played him as a man who had been locked in a cell for decades, stripped of his rhetoric and his followers, leaving absolutely nothing behind except pure malice.
Just raw evil.
Yeah. He took pleasure in the chaos. He didn't care who won the war. He just wanted to watch the world burn from his prison cell.
Which is terrifying.
It is. Now, part of this difference in portrayal might be because, at the time the film was made in 2010, the full depth of Grindelwald and Dumbledore's past relationship hadn't been, fully explored on screen.
That's true.
But regardless of the script's intention, Byrne brought a manic energy that made a massive impact with barely a minute of screen time.
Barely a minute. But then the Fantastic Beasts prequels happen.
Right.
The studio realizes they have a gold mine with this character. They expand the role to make him the central villain of a new 5-film franchise, and they just hand it over to Johnny Depp and later Mads Mikkelsen. And Byrne's older version, that specific cackling malice, is just completely ignored in the continuity. The Statesman called it a polite erasure, which is so typical of franchise filmmaking.
It really is. They just moved on.
But here's where it gets really interesting. I want to throw a thematic question at you.
Okay, let's hear it.
When you look at this constant recasting, Jamie Campbell Bower playing him young, Michael Byrne playing him old, Colin Farrell in disguise, Johnny Depp, Mads Mikkelsen.
It's a lot of faces.
It is. Is it possible that this chaotic studio recasting is actually a brilliant accidental mirror of Grindelwald's character? A man of many masks who manipulates everyone depending on who he needs to deceive.
It is an incredibly astute observation.
Yeah.
And the Screen Rant source brings up this exact irony.
Oh, they did.
Yeah. The constant, sometimes messy recasting accidentally mirrors a character who nobody could ever truly pin down.
That's so cool.
But, while that works as a fun thematic theory for the fans, from a purely industry perspective, it highlights a much harsher reality about how Hollywood operates.
The polite erasure part.
Right. Character actors are often viewed as disposable foundation layers in these massive franchises.
Just a stepping stone.
Exactly. A character actor like Byrne comes in, establishes the tone of a role, does the heavy lifting to make the character memorable in a single scene, and then, when the studio decides to build an entire franchise around it, they hand the keys to an A-list movie star.
It's the ultimate Hollywood bait and switch. You dig the foundation, you pour the concrete, and someone else gets their name on the mansion.
Precisely. Yet despite being politely erased from the official continuity of the prequel films, if you ask devoted fans about the most chilling version of Grindelwald, many will still point straight to that single scene of Byrne laughing in the dark at Voldemort.
I mean, it sticks with you.
It proves the fundamental power of a great character actor. They don't need 3 movies and a massive press tour to leave a permanent mark. They just need one good scene and a stone floor.
That is so true.
Yeah.
And I think that resilience, that ability to just do the work, serve the story, and move forward without needing the spotlight, it really defined his late-stage career.
It really did.
Let's look at his later renaissance because it is wildly impressive and completely defies industry expectations.
Oh, I love this part of his life.
In 2010, the exact same year he was playing this ancient, unhinged, dark wizard, he is 66 years old.
Right.
And what does he do? He goes back to the stage and challenges the entirely ageist prism of theater by playing a quote-unquote stripling Romeo opposite the 76-year-old Sion Phillips as Juliet at the Bristol Old Vic.
Which was an audacious, highly experimental move.
To say the least.
Yeah. The Guardian Review noted that this production helped usher in a fascinating trend of recasting young Shakespearean roles with highly experienced senior actors.
But how does that actually work in practice? I mean, Romeo and Juliet is famous for being about impulsive teenagers.
Right.
If you cast a 66-year-old and a 76-year-old, Doesn't the play just break?
It doesn't break. It completely transforms.
How so?
What happens to the impulsive, hot-blooded tragedy of Romeo and Juliet when the lovers are in their twilight years? It shifts the entire gravity of the text.
Oh, that gives me chills.
Right. The impulsive teenage suicide becomes a melancholic, profound tragedy of two people at the end of their lives finding love too late in a society that won't allow them to have it.
Wow.
It requires an immense amount of nuance to pull off so it doesn't just feel like a gimmick. Byrne, with those decades of classical training from the Old Vic, was perfectly equipped to anchor that kind of high-wire theatrical experiment.
Because he actually had the lived experience.
Exactly. He had the vocal control to deliver the poetry, but the life experience to give it entirely new meaning.
And while he's doing avant-garde Shakespeare on stage, he's simultaneously having this massive television renaissance. From 2008 to 2010, he joined the cast of the legendary UK soap Coronation Street.
A total pivot.
Right. He played Ted Page, who was Gail Platt's long-lost father and the ex-lover of Audrey Roberts. And the fan reaction to this was just so pure.
They loved him.
When the news of his passing broke, social media was just flooded with tributes specifically for his work on Corey. One fan on Reddit posted, "R.I.P. to the charming Michael Byrne, who played Corey's lovely gay Ted Page."
Oh,
Another responded, "Oh, he was always so lovely. Those eyes."
that's amazing.
Think about the whiplash of that range. The same icy blue eyes that terrorized Indiana Jones and laughed at Voldemort became a beloved, charming presence in millions of living rooms.
It speaks to the absolute breadth of his toolkit. To be equally convincing as a sadistic SS officer and a heartwarming, long-lost soap opera father is a rare, rare gift.
It really is.
And the most remarkable thing is that he never stopped. He worked almost right up until the end of his life. He appeared in the BBC crime drama strike in 2022. He did radio drama with the Archers in 2023. He even has a final posthumous film coming out, a comedy horror called Bjorn of the Dead.
That is just incredible work ethic. Sadly, he passed away on June 20th, 2026, at the age of 82. We should also note that his former wife, Carol, despite their separation years earlier, cared for him at the end. He leaves behind 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren.
Yeah, a full life.
So what does this all mean? When we look at a career spanning from Laurence Olivier's Old Vic to Coronation Street, from Braveheart to Harry Potter, I really want you to appreciate the sheer, glorious grind of a working actor's life.
It's not what people think it is.
No, it is not always red carpets and vanity projects.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it is showing up day after day, putting on a uniform or a costume, and bringing somebody else's words to life.
This raises an important question about how we value actors as a society.
Yeah, how so?
Well, we are obsessed with the top billing, the names on the posters, the people who command the multi-million-dollar paychecks.
Right, the superstars.
But character actors like Michael Byrne don't make the films about themselves. They serve the story. They serve the director's vision.
Exactly.
They provide the texture, the friction, and the reality of the world the main characters are walking through. If you take away the Michael Byrnes of the industry, the entire illusion of cinema just collapses.
Because the leading men have absolutely nothing to react against.
Precisely. He kept working for over 6 decades, not for the fame, but simply because he loved the craft of acting.
He was the ultimate cinematic chameleon, a man who terrified us, made us laugh, and built the rock-solid foundation of the movies we love without ever demanding his name be in flashing lights.
Beautifully said.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Think of your all-time favorite movie, the one you watch over and over again. Who is the Michael Byrne in it?
Oh, that's a great question.
Who is that actor whose name you probably don't know, but whose face is so familiar and whose performance is the essential glue that makes the entire film work?
They're in every good movie.
They really are. Next time you watch a blockbuster, I challenge you to look past the leading man. Pay close attention to the background actors, the supporting cast, the villains in the shadows. You might just be watching a master at work.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.